How do you fly a 747 with no controls? On August 12, 1985, Japan Airlines Flight 123 will lose its tail and all four hydraulic systems 12 minutes after takeoff from Tokyo. For the next 32 minutes, the crew will fight to keep the jumbo jet airborne using only engine thrust. 524 people on board, only 4 will survive. It will become the deadliest single aircraft accident in history. A summer evening over Japan, 747 climbs away from Tokyo, cabin full of families heading home for the Obon holidays. For almost everyone on board, this is routine. Far below, the mountains of Gunma lie dark and still, unaware that a damaged jumbo is circling above them. This is the story of Japan Airlines Flight 123. August 12, 1985. Obon season in Japan when millions travel home. Japan Airlines Flight 123 is a short hop from Tokyo Haneda to Osaka Itami. Today's aircraft is a Boeing 747 SR-46, registration JA8119, a short-range jumbo built for Japan's domestic routes. On board are 524 people, 15 crew and 509 passengers. Families, commuters, children flying alone for the first time. 7 years earlier, on approach into Osaka, this same aircraft lands and strikes its tail on the runway. The impact buckles the rear pressure bulkhead, the curved wall at the back of the cabin that keeps the air inside. Boeing is contracted to repair it, using a strong splice plate and 2 rows of rivets tying old structure to new. In the hangar, something subtle goes wrong. A narrower plate leaves part of the joint with only 1 row of rivets instead of 2. From the outside, the repair looks fine, but its strength has quietly fallen to about 70%. For 7 years, that weakness has sat hidden, flexing with every pressurization. Tonight, climbing out of Tokyo, it is about to fail. At 18:24, 12 minutes after takeoff, and at 24,000 feet, a violent noise tears through the rear of the aircraft. Survivors will later call it a boom, or a sharp metallic pan from somewhere above and behind. In the cockpit, the captain's voice tightens. He reports an explosion in the cabin, sets the transponder to 7700, and asks to descend and return to Haneda. Oxygen masks drop from the overhead panels. An automatic announcement calls for an emergency descent. Some passengers feel their ears block, and a brief white mist hangs in the cabin, then clears. Behind the walls, the weakened splice in the aft pressure bulkhead has failed. Pressurized air rushes into the space behind it and into the tail. Inside the vertical stabilizer, structure cracks, the skin peels away, and the top of the fin, with both rudders attached, tears off into the night. As the tail breaks apart, all 4 hydraulic lines routed through this area are torn open. On this 747, ailerons, elevators, and rudders are moved entirely by hydraulics. There are no backup cables. For a short time, some control remains. Then, as pressure drains from the ruptured systems, the surfaces freeze. Flight 123 has lost almost all conventional control. The aircraft begins to sway in the thin air. It yaws and rolls. Its nose rises and speed bleeds away. Then the nose falls and speed returns. Long, slow cycles that continue almost to the end. The crew still have the engines. By pushing the left pair harder than the right, they can roll the aircraft. By changing thrust between inboard and outboard engines, they can nudge the nose up or down. On the radio, their replies grow shorter. At one point, Tokyo Control hears a single phrase, "Now uncontrollable." For the next half hour, the crippled jumbo traces looping arcs over central Japan. In the cabin, some begin to write farewell messages. For 32 minutes after the bulkhead fails, the crew and passengers of Flight 123 live between control and collapse as the mountains of Gunma rise unseen ahead. Over the forests of Okutama, people on the ground look up. They see an aircraft at low height, nose slightly raised, wings rocking. The 747 seems to hang in the sky, then begins an uneasy turn. It passes over one valley, then another, engines surging and fading as the crew work the throttles. Inside, the cabin is a world of motion and noise. Loose objects rattle. Each long climb presses passengers into their seats. Each sudden drop lifts them into their belts. At 1854, controllers give the crew their position. Both Haneda and Yokota are available. The reply is brief. After that, the radios fall quiet. On a ridge near the village of Ueno, the trees thicken and the slopes grow steeper. Witnesses there see the jumbo appear low over the hills, nose up, speed bleeding away. It banks, as if trying to clear one last spine of high ground. It does not. At 1856 and 28 seconds, Japan Airlines Flight 123 hits Osutaka Ridge. The impact tears the fuselage apart and scatters wreckage through the cedar forest. Fuel from ruptured tanks ignites, sending fire through the broken cabin and into the trees. As night settles over the mountains, 4 people are still alive in the wreckage. They hear others breathing, crying out, then falling silent. Sometimes they see torchlight between the trees. Around 2040, the off-duty cabin attendant in the rear hears helicopter blades overhead. She waves, shouts into the dark. The sound grows louder, then moves away. It will be the early hours of the next morning before rescue teams reach the site. In the hours after the crash, search aircraft and controllers lose Flight 123's radar return over the mountains of Gunma. The official report later describes a difficult nighttime search in steep, forested terrain. It says the crash point is not confirmed until the early morning of August 13th, when aircraft finally locate the wreckage from the air, with ground teams not reaching the site for another 14 to 16 hours. Survivors remember something different. Voices around them well into the night, torchlight between the trees, and helicopters close overhead before the sound fades away. Years later, former US Air Force navigator Michael Antonucci recalls searching from a C-130 out of Yokota, finding smoke near Osutaka, guiding a Marine helicopter in, and then being ordered, along with the Marines, to return to base. The Japanese are on the way, he remembers being told. Why rescue was not allowed to go in immediately remains an open question. What is clear is that some people on that ridge were alive for hours, waiting. In the months that follow, attention turns to the wreckage. Investigators recover parts of the tail and the aft pressure bulkhead, and under microscopes find fatigue cracks radiating from rivet holes along the repaired splice. The commission concludes that this weakened joint ruptured in flight. The tail and all hydraulic systems were lost, and the crew could not maintain control. It traces those cracks back to an improper repair and to inspections that never fully saw what lay beneath the skin. No one is ever criminally charged. A jumbo jet has fallen from the sky because of a splice plate and a line of rivets signed off 7 years before. Some air disasters are instant and obvious. A flash on the runway, smoke over a city. Japan Airlines Flight 123 was not. For 12 minutes, it was a normal flight. For 32 more, it was a hidden struggle above the mountains. A wounded aircraft circling in the dark. The chain began years earlier. A tail strike. A repair that did not match the drawings. Rivets carrying more stress than they should. Cracks too small to see. On this August evening, the bulkhead finally gave way. The tail and hydraulics were lost. The crew were left with almost nothing but the engines. Yet they kept the 747 in the air for half an hour, a feat many pilots still regard as remarkable. On the ridge below, survivors lay among torn sections of cabin and wing, listening to helicopters that came near and then moved away. For them, every minute without rescue was a chance that did not return. Afterward, the story split. One version lives in official reports, ending with a ruptured bulkhead and new procedures. Another lives in memory, of villagers who saw aircraft circling, of crews told to turn back, of families who believe more lives could have been saved. Aviation has tried to learn. Repairs to critical structures are more tightly controlled. Inspections look deeper into metal. The path of Flight 123 appears in manuals and training rooms as a warning about what hidden damage can become. Today, a steep track climbs through the trees to the crash site. Each year, people walk it with flowers and names, standing where the fuselage once lay. The aircraft is gone. What remains are procedures, stone markers, and a story about how a small, unseen weakness crossed years and in a moment changed hundreds of lives. Japan Airlines Flight 123 now stands at the boundary between wreckage and memory, between an ordinary departure from Tokyo and a line of names carved into granite on a quiet mountain, between what was and what remains. There lies the liminal.